All right, today we're talking about a pretty seismic shift in the world of AI. One of the field's most prominent skeptics. He just changed his mind about how close we are to artificial general intelligence. So let's break down exactly what he saw that made him flip and what that really means for all of us. And this is the quote that really sent shockwaves through the AI world. That's Francois Chollet. He's a top-tier AI researcher, and he's always been known for being, super cautious, even bearish on how fast this stuff is moving. Just a year ago, he was talking about a decade, maybe more. Now, he's saying 5-ish years. So what on earth just happened? Well, the backstory here is almost as interesting as the headline. This all came out during an interview with Dwarkesh Patel. And in this crazy role reversal from just a year ago, Chollet, the skeptic, suddenly sounds like an optimist. And Dwarkesh, the interviewer, is the one pumping the brakes. Their whole debate really gets to the core of what AGI is even going to look like. So to really get why this is such a big deal, you have to understand where Chollet was coming from before. I mean, just a year ago, he was arguing that all the AI systems we had were, well, they were basically static. They were just these giant, incredibly sophisticated memorization machines.
The big leap that changed his mind is all about how these models handle novelty. See, the old models, if you gave them a problem that was too different from their training data, they'd just fail. But this new generation of models, they can do something Chollet calls test time adaptation. What that means is, when you throw a totally new problem at them, they don't just search their memory banks. They actually create a new strategy, a new chain of thought, right there on the fly.
And he realized he was seeing the very first sparks of what psychologists call fluid intelligence. The ability to reason your way through a brand new problem without relying on stuff you've already learned. It's about genuine problem solving, not just pattern matching. For Chollet, seeing an AI actually do that was the game changer for him. But right as Chollet gets convinced that we've cracked this huge bottleneck, his interviewer, Dwarkesh Patel, points out a brand new one. And this is where the conversation gets really interesting and, a lot more nuanced. So Patel's big concern isn't about solving one single new problem, it's about learning that sticks around, long term. Think about how a person gets good at their job over a few months. They build up context, they remember their mistakes, they learn from them. Patel's point is that this kind of on-the-job, continuous learning, it's a massive piece of the puzzle that's still missing. And this really gets to the heart of why they're talking past each other a little bit. They're focused on two totally different kinds of learning. Chollet is fired up about an AI's ability to adapt to a new task in the moment. Patel is hung up on its inability to learn and remember lessons over the long haul, week after week, the way a person does. This whole debate is what leads us to the most powerful idea in their entire conversation: Chollet's new vision for what AGI will actually be. And I can pretty much guarantee it's not what you're picturing in your head. Okay, so first things first, forget the sci-fi image of a single, all-powerful AI god in a box. Chollet's vision is more of a collective, a network. And the analogy he uses to explain it comes from one of the most important tools for any modern software developer. So here's how it would work. Picture millions of AI agents all tackling different problems at the same time. When one of them figures out a clever solution to something new, it doesn't just keep that insight to itself. The solution gets turned into a reusable building block, and then it's uploaded to a huge shared global library. Think of it like a GitHub for intelligence. And instantly, every other AI agent in the network can grab that new tool and use it. And that's what makes this system superhuman. It's not about any single agent being way smarter than a person. The real advantage is that the system can learn from every single agent's experience, all at once. I mean, you or I, we can only learn from our own limited experiences. This system can learn from millions of experiences simultaneously. Think about how much programming has changed. Back in the 70s, if you were a programmer, you had to build pretty much everything from scratch. It was slow. But today, a programmer mostly just assembles solutions using these huge libraries of open source code, like GitHub. That's Chollet's model for AGI. It's not one genius building everything, it's a global system sharing and reusing intellectual building blocks. So you might be thinking, okay, a system that learns from millions of agents at once, doesn't that just lead straight to the singularity? A runaway, uncontrollable intelligence explosion? Well, not so fast. Chollet offers a pretty serious reality check on that whole idea. The whole sci-fi idea of the singularity is based on this myth of pure, endless, exponential growth. But Chollet's point is that's just not how anything works in the real world. Real-world systems always have bottlenecks. As soon as you solve one, another one pops up to take its place. Even if software intelligence became basically infinite tomorrow,
progress would just get slammed by the next bottleneck in the system. And these real-world bottlenecks, they're literally everywhere. A superintelligent AI can't magically make a 5-year clinical trial for a new drug happen in 5 minutes. It can't instantly get regulatory approval from a slow-moving government agency. It can't force human beings to adopt new technologies overnight. Progress is always going to be constrained by the friction of the messy physical world.
And we can already see this playing out in science right now. We are pouring exponentially more resources into scientific research, more PhDs, more money, more computing power than ever in history. And yet, the pace of truly fundamental, paradigm-shifting discoveries, it isn't exponential. It's a classic case of diminishing returns. Just throwing more intelligence at a problem doesn't guarantee faster breakthroughs.
And all of this leads to Khaled's final and maybe his most important idea. We need to completely redefine what we even mean by intelligence. For a while now, we've been obsessed with models that use brute force, spending a city's worth of energy to solve a puzzle a kid could figure out. But Khaled argues that's not real intelligence at all. True intelligence, he says, is the exact opposite of that. It's about efficiency. It's the skill of doing more with less. Think of a chess grandmaster. They don't brute force calculate every possible move. They just see the right one. Intelligence is about elegance and efficiency, not raw computational power. So all of this really forces us to step back and ask a pretty fundamental question. If true intelligence isn't about brute force, but about efficiency, and if AGI isn't going to be a single godlike king, but a decentralized collective, then what is it we're actually racing to build? Maybe it's not about creating an artificial god. Maybe it's about building a better, faster, and more efficient version of, well, us. And what does that future really look like?